2024, halfway through the year, this is an update. You're listening to the Home Seller's Advantage. I'm Aaron Zapata, your co-host.
And I'm Todd Anderson, your other co-host. We are the Bald Brothers team at Impact Realty Group with Real Broker, and we are here to give you the Home Seller's Advantage.
You can find us online at www.baldbrothers.tv. Again, that's baldbrothers.tv.
Or you can call us at 833-305-BALD. That's 833-305-2253 today.
Welcome back. It's been a few minutes? Is that the right word? We're getting off start.
let me help Aaron out.
Please help me.
Welcome back. It's been a few days. It's been a couple of weeks. It's been a couple of weeks since we've actually had a show go live.
That's right. And we are back. We wanted to bring you some updates on what's happening in the market. We've got some pretty significant changes coming up here. The market is shifting a little bit right now. And we've got an election coming up and a whole lot of things on the ballot that might change the nature of real estate in California.
Anything interesting in the news lately,
Nothing.
Aaron?
Nothing.
It's just been a boring, dull news cycle. No, there's a lot.
We could say it's up for debate.
There we go. Boy, Aaron, you're quick-witted today.
Quick-witted.
Yes, it's up for debate. Yeah, we just had a presidential debate, and there's a lot of hubbub in the news and political news, and who knows, by the time this airs, who knows what the situation will be. But as of right now, there's a lot going on. But the question is, this is the home seller's advantage. The question is, how does this affect the real estate market? We are now officially 6 months, halfway through the year. We wrapped up the month of June. We are now into July. We just celebrated 4th of July a few days ago. And so we're at the halfway point. It's a good time to kind of take a look and see what's going on in the market.
And we do need to ask the questions. Does the election have an impact on you, the homeowner?
Mm-hmm.
We need to ask the question, how does this new National Association of Realtor lawsuit that rolls out supposedly in the middle of August affect you, the homeowner? So we're going to talk about those things today. So hang in there because we've got some really good information. But before we do that, congratulations, Todd. You had a fantastic vacation.
Yes, I did.
And I am going to do a road trip with my kids in August, and so that's exciting for my family. But we've been busy. The reason we haven't been on the show is not because of vacations, but we have been closing quite a few transactions. And just want to say congrats to our sellers who are selling in this market, and congrats to our buyers because we've actually been representing quite a few buyers in the last month. Yeah,
the show is Home Seller's Advantage, but we do work with buyers as well, and we have had a handful of buyers that we've worked with recently, and so we get to see both sides of the coin. And
let's talk about one of the buyers that we represent, because they moved in, they bought a house.
Oh, I know where you're going with this one.
They didn't get keys. In fact, the homeowner that sold them the house stayed in there for 8 days after closing, and then didn't do the work that they were supposed to do. So we have a twofold, breach of contract here. And I'm not an attorney, so if you want to go look up the word breach of contract, please have your attorney define that for you. But this was a situation because here we have a client who is a veteran, and they're pregnant, and they're wanting to get into their new home to start making changes because they got a baby coming.
They were not just pregnant, but very pregnant.
Very pregnant. And so there is, a time frame here that we're trying to deal with. Eventually, the homeowner did leave, so we didn't have to take any, not we, but the buyer didn't have to take any kind of legal action against them. But, there is the question, what happens if a seller won't move out? Now, if you're a seller and you're listening to this, get out when you're supposed to get out. That is the best thing you can do to protect your equity position, because if you stay late, if you don't do the job, if you don't do the work you're supposed to do, that can delay your sale, it can delay your closing, and they can also come up at you for damages. And so, in this case, we have a situation where the homeowner took advantage of our client's, I'm going to say niceness. They're not mean people, and he just stayed in there.
Yeah.
And it costs our buyers over $200 a day to own that house.
Yeah.
And so 8 days is well over $1,600.
Yeah.
In just lost, money that's going to be hard to recoup.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, they left the house in shambles.
Yeah.
So they didn't take everything with them.
Yeah.
So right now we're dealing with the aftermath of that. And if you're a buyer going through that right now, or you're planning to purchase a home, sometimes those situations are unavoidable.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully, we didn't have to hire the squatter squad or go to legal, action to get the homeowner out. But they did leave finally after some time.
Yeah, and the truth of the matter is, in the state of California, where we are, it can be a challenge. If you've got somebody in the home that's not supposed to be in there, and of course, in this case, it was a previous owner no longer had right, and based on the contract, no longer had the right to be in possession of the home. It's not as easy as perhaps in some other places where you just call the police and bring them out. That's just not the way it works in California. Now, Aaron and I have been through this many times with properties. And there's a process that we have to go through, and typically it involves getting a court judgment, a court order that this person is supposed to be out. Then the sheriff's department has to enforce that by posting that. And then if the person is in violation of that, then the local PD has the right and the authority to arrest the person. But it's not until you get to that point that can happen. So hopefully these sorts of things can be resolved without having to go through the legal action.
And if you are a homeowner or landlord in Santa Monica, please check in with your local authorities there. There is some crazy anti-landlord legislation that's being proposed and or voted on out in that neck of the woods. So thankfully this wasn't that part of the woods, but the homeowner did get out. My clients are now moved in, and they're starting the repair process on the home. But we still have some things to deal with now, because now there's the cost of the debris removal. There's the cost of the repairs that weren't done that were supposed to be done. So, we're not done with this one yet.
Yeah.
And again, if you're a homeowner and you make commitments to make repairs and you make commitments to move out, you need to do what you need to do. Abide by the contract.
Yep.
It's the best way not to get sued. and that is an advantage for homeowners not to get sued.
Yeah, you don't want to get sued.
You don't want to sell your house and then be sued and then have to fight a lawsuit. So do what you're supposed to do. Get out and move on. Did you know that 68% of homeowners, and I got this information this morning from a title company.
Okay.
In the last 12 months, 68% of homeowners who chose to sell their home worked with an agent that has sold 2 or less homes in the last 12 months.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
68% work with an agent that has sold 2 or less homes. And
that's typically someone who has a relative, a family member. I guess those are both the same thing, right? They have a family member. They are.
I remember, but not a relative.
I wanted to say a relative or a friend or a neighbor or someone who knows someone. Because let's face it, it can be difficult to find qualified people, and typically when it comes to selling real estate, it's the most important thing is to get the right realtor, and that oftentimes involves some work and some investigation and interviewing realtors. But if you know somebody, that's oftentimes the simplest way to go, but it might not be the best decision.
That's right, because you're dealing with the largest asset that your family owns typically. And I also found this statistic to be true, that the top 50% of all agents sell 91% of the homes. So even though, there's a lot of homeowners that choose 0 to 2, the rest of those business, the sales are basically done by a very small handful. Yeah. Small handful of agents. So, and by God's grace, you and I have had a chance to close a lot of transactions this year. And so we're by the end of this month, we should do as much as we did all of last year. Yeah. I don't know if you've looked at that. But,
last year was a very difficult year for real estate. But we are on track to match where we were at the end of last year. We're a little over halfway through the year. So we're on a good track record.
And so when you're interviewing your agent, how many homes have you sold in the last 12 months?
Yes.
The contracts and the nature of real estate is changing so fast right now that if they haven't done at least, a handful, 5-6 deals in the last 12 months, they probably are a little bit behind of what's happening.
Yeah, you have to know what's going on in the market. You have to know what's going on in your industry. And let's face it, practice makes perfect too. So if you have not been doing transactions, every time you go into a new transaction, you're having to kind of relearn the process, even though you're licensed.
Yes.
So it's important to be working with somebody who is used to working on these on a regular basis.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's just word of advice as you are considering. It might be, detrimental to your relationship to say no to your sister. But if you know she hasn't sold in the last 12 months, perhaps you should just interview somebody else just to get a second opinion.
Yeah.
And if you still want to go with your sister or your cousin or your uncle or your best friend, awesome. Do that.
Yeah.
Because you already have the relationship. So we're not disparaging that kind of relationship. But we are saying is that this is a very important sale, and we'd love to talk to you to be your second opinion.
Yeah. In some cases, it might just be the best choice.
It might be. Honey,
say,
I know I love you. I know we're married, and I know we're together for 28 years, but you just got your license. No, you better use your spouse.
You do.
If you're married to that realtor, you better work together.
You work what's best for you.
That's right. All right. So, 68% of homeowners.
That's amazing.
Working with an agent. Yeah. So let's talk about right now what we're seeing, and then let's talk about the upcoming commission changes.
Yeah.
But right now, what are we seeing in the market in terms of offers, plateaus?
We're starting to see that. We're starting to see more homes on the market. We're starting to see homes last a little bit longer on the market than they were back in the spring, we did a show talking about that kind of the springtime was the best time before you starting to compete. So that's pretty typical as we started to get this part of the summer. There's another thing that's pretty typical. We want to talk about the election cycle. Generally, every 4 years in a presidential election, the election cycle always does have an effect on the real estate market leading up to the election until after the election is done, and then the real estate market kind of goes back to what it's used to being doing.
Yeah, sellers are nervous about what's going to happen with the election. Buyers are nervous about what's going to happen with the election. And the reality is nothing is going to be changed dramatically. Mm-hmm. All that is going to happen is that we're going to have an elected president. Mm-hmm. And everybody, but in the unknown, in the absence of knowing for certain, buyers and sellers tend to pause.
Yep, they hold back.
Yeah, so we do see that, in an election year typically starts in August, maybe September, definitely in October as we roll into a November election. So, we do expect it to slow down. So although we're excited that we've closed as many as we have this year, we do know that the end of this year is not going to be super spectacular.
In particular, this one. Yeah.
Unless you call us right now and you say, we got to get this home sold before the election. If that's you, just give us a call.
Yeah.
And how should they get a hold of it?
833-305-BALD. We've gone how many minutes and we haven't even talked
12,
about,
like 10 minutes. 833-305-BALD. That's BALD. If you know how to spell, that's BALD.
2253.
That's right. We'll tell you the bare truth about your property. We should come up with a new slogan. Hey, if you have a slogan for us that has to do with being bald that we can incorporate into our show here, please let us know. Comment below or send us an email. Give us a call. Tell us what you think it should be. That'd be fun to incorporate some thoughts on that.
We will tell you the bold and bald truth.
That's right. So the election's going to slow things down.
Yeah.
We are currently seeing fewer buyers make offers because buyers are very selective.
Yep.
There's more homes on the market, so they don't have to be as urgent. They can look and shop a little bit more. And so we've had 3 buyers' offers recently accepted in a lower price point, which typically lower price points in Orange County, Southern California, let's say $750,000, $800,000 and below.
Yeah.
Normally, you're like fighting against 5 or 6 offers.
At that price point, normally there's so many fish in the water. Yeah, there's so many people fighting over it. But we
have one buyer that was up against only one other offer. We have another buyer that was up against 2 other offers, another buyer that was against 2 other offers, and another one that was against 1. Yeah. So, normally back in the springtime, that was 1 against 10, 1 against 15 sometimes. Now it's 1 against 3.
Yeah.
That's the most that we've seen here in the last couple of weeks. So that's normal again for the summer market. If you're looking at pricing your home, you clearly want to take that into account when you are looking at your price point, your starting listing point. So keep that in mind. Don't be too aggressive because you may only get one offer. But if you get one offer and it's like a great offer and it's list price and that's what you want, take it.
Go for it. Yeah.
We've had 2 that were in escrow. One just closed, actually. First day on the market, really first showing.
Yeah.
First offer, full price.
And they said,
take it.
Yep.
And it closed in 3.5 weeks.
Yeah.
And it set a new price per square foot record in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So it's not that we're not setting records. We're just doing it with 1 and 2 buyers as opposed to 12. All right?
Yep.
So that's what's going on. All right, next topic.
What is our next topic?
Our next topic. Many of you have heard that there
yeah.
is a lawsuit that was settled earlier this year.
Yep, the commission lawsuit.
And I've had some sellers say to me, hey, I don't have to pay a buyer's agent commission anymore. To which I reply, you've never had to.
Yeah.
Because it has always been optional.
It's always been negotiable. It's always been optional.
But the reality is most homeowners didn't know it was an option.
Yeah.
And realtors haven't done a decent job of explaining that there are 2 sides of the transaction. There's the listing side. And Todd and I, when we represent sellers, we get paid from the listing side. And we have different brackets and different tiers of pricing that we charge based on the work that needs to be done, based on the the kind of tools that we're using and utilizing. Sometimes on a luxury home, we might have to charge 3.5% to 4% because we're going to do some pretty cool advertising. Staging might be included. And so, if you don't have that, it's a quick sale, it's a family sale to one person to another, we might do it for a lot less.
Yeah. And oftentimes we do a lot of management, especially if the
project management.
If the homeowner's not there, we're managing and maintaining the property and managing all of the upkeep and the repairs and the
contractors and whatnot.
Yep.
And so there's different price points for different things, but in all of those scenarios, the buyer has the homeowner has always had the option to pick a offering compensation to go to the buyer. It does not have to be the same thing you pay your listing agent.
Yep.
So this new lawsuit came out, and basically a couple things are changing, and we want you to know as a homeowner that a lot of paperwork is changing. Our theory, our gut tells us that after 6 months or a year that things will kind of settle back into the way they have always been. We're just going to have more paperwork.
Yeah.
So essentially the settlement stated this: every buyer who's working with an agent has to have a written contract for that service. Just like you would list your home with an agent, you'd have a listing contract, you're now going to have a buyer's agent contract that says, this is my exclusive agent. I am using this person when I buy my house. It's as solid as a listing agreement for a seller. This is a buyer's agreement with a buyer. In that agreement, there's going to be a statement of a fee that agent's going to get paid, anywhere from whatever they charge. It could be flat fee, just like on the listing side. It could be 1%. It could be 3%. It could be 4%. Yep. Whatever it is, it's between the buyer's agent and the buyer. Now, that's great. It clarifies a lot of things. Where the difficulty is how this works out in the market is that buyer's agent can get paid one of 2 ways. They can get paid from their buyer direct, or they can receive an offsetting compensation indirectly from the seller,
which is normally
a buyer's agent commission.
How it's always worked, yeah.
So, but instead of on paper that seller paying the agent, directly, they would then credit the buyer their 2%, 2.5%, 3%, whatever's negotiated, and then that buyer would then be able to pay their agent with that money. So again, it creates a complexity of triangular relationships.
Yeah, just adds complexity, really, and of course, with complexity comes confusion.
It does. And so I was having this conversation with a home seller yesterday, and I said, "Here's the reality. When I'm having my buyer consultation, meetings now, I say to my buyers, okay, so here's my buyer's agent contract. I'm going to get paid anywhere from 2 to 3%, depending on what you want me to do, and they sign it. And then I present to them 10 properties that we're going to go look at. Okay, this is hypothetical. Hey, we got 10 properties. These 7 are offering to give you a credit that will help pay the fee that I'm going to charge you. The top 3 on the list here, they're not offering the credit. So you're going to pay me the full amount that we've agreed to. Which of these 10 would you want to go see? Which one do you want to see first? And then you're like, take those top 3 off.
Yep.
We'll only look at those if we can't find something in the other 7. And so we're back to square one. Yep. That when sellers offer a compensation or a closing cost credit to the buyer that the buyer can do whatever they want with, those sellers that recognize there's this type of thing is happening, those homeowners are going to be better positioned in the market if they continue to offer some sort of credit to pay a buyer's agent.
Yeah.
So everything's changed and nothing has changed.
Yeah.
And reports from New York are showing us that those homeowners that recognize this and they're offering to offset the compensation to a buyer's agent because they've been doing it all year there. They didn't wait to implement this whole thing. Those homes are selling for more money, as you can imagine, and in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Because they get the most showings, they get the most demand. Because buyers out there buying right now in Southern California, when it takes $349,000 a year in annual income to buy the median home in Orange County, you got to come up with a lot of money for a down payment.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to do is pay a buyer's agent if that wasn't part of your budget beforehand. And buyers are being surprised by this because most of them haven't paid attention. And they're like, wait a minute, I have to pay you? Yes. Well, that eats into my down payment. Yes. So what do you want me to do? Well, don't show me any houses that aren't going to pay you. Okay. We'll skip them.
Which brings us, as Aaron said, back to square one. So it'll be interesting to see how all of this plays out. And we are right now in the month of July, and this is kind of the moment, right? July is
August 17th is the official date when we can't show property without a buyer's agency agreement.
Yeah. Yeah. So we are at the moment when everything is shifting, everything is changing. And for those of you who are listening, of course, as most people are not paying attention to these sorts of things because it doesn't affect you unless you're in the position where you're ready to sell your home or, to purchase a home. But if you're in the position to sell your home now, you're starting to pay attention to these sorts of things because you have to pay attention to what it's going to cost you. But the bottom line is, just to kind of surmise everything that Aaron just said, the bottom line is that things are still pretty much the same. If you want to sell your home for the highest possible dollar value, you're going to have to be willing to pay a commission towards that buyer agent, or in this case, a credit that would cover the buyer's commission, depending on how you word it. Because the bottom line is, the more people see the home, that fall in love with the home, you got to put that carrot out there to draw the attention. And without that carrot, without that commission, you're not going to have it. And at the end of the day, you'll end up netting more when you sell your home.
And that gives you an advantage because you want to sell your house for the most amount of money. And guess what? The Bald Brothers team wants to help you. And I do want to say thank you to our mortgage company that we work with, as well as our escrow company, Beacon Escrow and Crosswalk Mortgage. They are up to date on all of these coming changes as well. Literally, we're making changes to closing documents because all of this stuff has to be updated nationwide. Nationwide. And so it's a huge undertaking in the real estate industry, and it's going to cause a lot of confusion in the next 8 weeks. Just today, one of our team members, hey, do I need to have that contract signed yet to go show property? Nope, not yet. August 17th.
Soon.
Soon. So that is really a big change, but I think things are going to operate as normal.
Yeah.
So why the whole lawsuit then? That is a great question.
Because this is America.
This is America. You can sue for anything.
It's how we do things.
That's right.
And a general people. Somebody asked, how come there's so many things I have to sign to sell a house? And I said, well, every time there's a lawsuit, there's another piece of paper you have to sign.
That's right.
So that's why. Right. I mean, these lawsuits perpetuate more and more documentation that has to be signed.
That's right. And as you sell your home, you realize that you can die under that mound of paperwork. It really is a lot. It really is a lot. Yeah. And so we expect that you're going to have questions when it comes to selling a home. And a lot of you are watching us on YouTube. Hi, Jerry, by the way. He watches all of our shows. And you're going to have friends and relatives that you're going to talk to about selling their homes. And you're going to want to have them call us.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to stay abreast of everything. We work for a national firm, so we have access to agents all over the country, and we've got great leadership that's keeping us informed and up to date. And so have them give us a call. And the best way to do that is if they call our toll-free number. It is not us answering it personally. It's a calling service, but they will take your name and your number and ask you if you're calling about a property, and then give them your name, give them your phone number, and an email address, and we, either Todd or myself, will call you back.
Yeah. And so the number is 833-305-BALD. That's 833-305-2253. And by the way, when you do call, please make sure that you do give them a phone number or at least an email or something so we can call back, because there are times in which people call and they don't give any return information.
They won't call me back.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't give us your phone number. So we want to hear from you. We want you to send us your comments. We want you to like and subscribe to our show. It's on Spotify. It's on all the podcast apps. It's on YouTube. And we would love to have you come back every time we post an episode. And again, we apologize for taking a few weeks to break here, but we needed the time off. We've been closing deals. We've been taking some vacation time. And so it's glad to be back. And we hope you've enjoyed today's episode as we help empower homeowners to make informed and intelligent decisions. Anything else to close?
That's it for today.
All right. God bless you guys. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Home Sellers Advantage. The Bald Brothers team is a licensed DBA of Real Broker, licensed by the California Department of Real Estate, number 02022-092. Again, we do not give any real estate, legal, or financial advice. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can call us at 833-305-BALD, or you can reach us online at baldbrothers.tv. Equal housing opportunity.